All right, episode 50. That's exciting, right? I feel like 50 is a pretty big number. I mean, I won't get too tied up on this though. I'm more looking forward to episode 52 because that means I've been doing this podcast for a year now. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Episode 50. So a few days ago, I watched this Rich Roll podcast with this author named Cal Newport, and he's the author of Slow Productivity. And if you watch a lot of like self-care or like self-improvement podcasts, you've probably seen this guy around a little bit. He's doing a little press tour, but he's been with guys like Ryan Holiday and Tim Ferriss and Huberman and guys like that. But I really like what this guy is preaching, primarily because I have like PTSD from what he defines as pseudo productivity. And at its core, it's the appearance of being productive. And in a modern day workplace, if you don't appear busy, then you're not doing enough. You need to have your Slack light on. You need to respond to messages and emails within the minute, have back-to-back meetings and talk about all the work instead of doing any of the work that needs to be done. This is the epitome of my last job. If I didn't respond to a Slack message within, 2 minutes because I was actually trying to focus on my work, you'd hear through the grapevine that people weren't very happy with you. And even like you get these messages from certain members of the team saying, and they would go out to everyone saying, you need to stop everything and read your messages and at least reply with a thumbs up within like the first few minutes, acknowledging the message, or it is to be assumed that you're not working. This was a crazy environment to be in. But now I work remotely, and with every fucking little ding or bing of a Slack message, I freak out, I stop what I'm doing, and I have to look over at it. It's insane. But I digress. So yes, we are plagued as a society by pseudo productivity. And in his book, Cal discusses the ideology of slow productivity. And at its essence, it's all about taking on an appropriate workload and giving yourself like enough time to actually critically think, not just churn out as much work as possible, which is a pretty fucking novel concept if you ask me. But I've been listening to the audiobook. I haven't finished it yet, so I don't want to like solely speak to this, but it got me thinking about some of the hacks that I try to implement in order to be like the most productive. Like how do I get the most amount of work done today so that I can just take on more tomorrow? And I've done things in previous work environments like time blocking, or I've done like the Pomodoro technique, right? Like you've ever heard of this, where you deep dive into a task for 25-minute intervals and then you take breaks in between. And I like this. I thought it was a little weird taking these 5-minute breaks every so often. It's very regimented, but it does work though. And then this week I found this creator, Jun Yu, I think his name is, but he's this biomedical engineering student, and his whole feed is based around these techniques that help him study and be more productive because he's obviously having to retain a lot of information right now. So today I'm going over some super interesting methods of how to retain more information and in turn be more productive, because right now a large portion of my work is centered around fact finding, basically finding just key information or insights or strategies and then being able to understand them and explain them. And I'll go into this more shortly, but if there are ways for me to learn and comprehend information on a faster level, like I want to try them out. So first, let's look at the blurting method. So the blurting method is an active recall technique that involves testing yourself on certain materials that you're trying to learn. So in its simplest form, let's say like you read something, then you close the book, you close the article, you close the notes, the study guide, whatever it is, and you try to write down as much important information as you can remember. And then once you're done, you reopen whatever you were reading and you compare. You see what you missed, and this is supposed to display areas where your recall was good and then also areas that you might need to work on as well. So I've actually been using the blurting method a lot recently for work. So currently I'm making a lot of short form videos on the topic of Amazon advertising. Now, my area of focus is social media, and these two are very different. They're both basically marketing, but they're very different from each other. But when you utilize them in tandem, you can see a lot of success as a brand. But before a few weeks ago, I didn't know shit about Amazon advertising. And I'm expected to make these insightful videos about the platform and certain tools you can utilize and the latest updates and shit like that. Now, I know how to make a reel though, so I start there. So let's say I come across a topic that I want to do a video on. For example, I just made a video today on how to optimize your product listings for voice search. This is real riveting stuff, but I don't know shit about this topic. So what do? Well, first I start reading through articles, and as I read through each article, I see it basically if it holds any value, and then I extract sentences that provide the most vital information to the topic, and I throw those into a blank Word document. Now, maybe after 3 to 5 different articles, I open up a separate brand new Word document with nothing on it and start building out a 60 to 90 second script based solely on the information that I can just remember from these articles. This is the blurting portion of the process. And in this step, I basically just need to build a little story arc, start off with a common question or a hook, and then expand on it with the information I'm trying to remember, and then kind of wrap it up all together on how the agency can really solve this issue. And once I complete a draft of the script, I take a look back at the first Word document containing all the key information from the articles, and then I edit the script from there. But by doing this technique just over and over again and just making videos day after day, I've really found myself kind of retaining some of this random ass information. Based on that topic I just described, I can tell you that 60% of US shoppers make weekly purchases through their smart home voice assistants like Alexa. I don't know why I'm holding on to this information. It just sticks with me, and I'm not upset about it, but it's just information that I now know. And like I said, it really doesn't provide any advantages for being productive, with the exception of being a great way to remember just key information in a very efficient way. In my example, I'm really able to just understand different Amazon advertising strategies and explain them at a very base level now. So if there's anything that you want to learn and you want to learn quickly, try the blurting method, read it, blurt it out, and see what you forgot. Next, we have second brain, which sounds pretty fucking cool if you ask me, but building a second brain is a concept by Tiago Forte, and he describes it like this. So our brain can only store a few thoughts at any one time, and it's best used for having ideas, not necessarily storing them. But we dedicate so much of our lives to education, right? Yet we forget a lot of this useful information. So what we can do is build a digital note-taking system in efforts to better retain everything that we read, watch, or listen to. And this is your second brain. You use it to organize your thoughts and then pull from them whenever you need to. And so the way you build your second brain is based off 4 elements: code, C-O-D-E. And the C is for capture, O is for organize, D is for distill, and E is for express. So first, capture. Capture is laying down the foundation of your second brain, and it involves efficient note-taking. And to do this, you should keep all of your notes basically in one location, for example, in your Notes app. Next, you should save or write down anything that you think is beneficial for you. If there's any value in it, just simply include it in your notes. You also want to actively engage with the material, so contributing to the note-taking often is also important. Next, we have the second pillar of building your second brain, and that is organize. And organizing your notes is essential for easy retrieval. And Mr. Tiago Forte suggests organizing after actionability, meaning when do you need the information next? And he also suggests using an organizational structure of projects, areas, resources, and archives. But to be honest, this little part of his just went completely over my head. I don't know what the hell this guy was talking about. And I think there are tons of ways to organize yourself and organize different strategies. But yeah, when it came to that, just be sure to organize your notes. But from there, once I have a topic that I really want to run with, I'm pretty good at extracting the information and distilling it down to the core thoughts that I want to talk about. And then finally, it's expressing, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm talking about what I'm learning, which just reinforces my knowledge on the subject. But to sum it up, your second brain, you'd use this to improve your learning efficiency and then to enhance your productivity. So I actually found the next method named Eat the Frog through a website called Todoist.com, and you can take a quiz to see what productivity hack is right for you. Now, Eat the Frog technique wasn't one that necessarily I matched with, but with a name like that, I was like, how could we not talk about this? So I guess it stems from a quote by Mark Twain, but essentially your frog is your single most important task of the day. And you want to eat this frog or complete it before you even have a chance of putting it off. And you want to repeat this methodology day after day. But this reminded me of a story from the comedian Jerry Seinfeld. And in some books and interviews, he talks about how he sits down every morning with a cup of coffee and a notepad and he writes. Even if he doesn't want to, he can't do anything else with this allotted amount of time besides writing. And I was like, this is essentially Jerry's frog, right? And then come to find out, Mr. Seinfeld has a productivity hack of his own. And it's referred to as the Seinfeld strategy or the don't break the chain technique. And it all stems from this new comic that was trying to like make it, right? And he ran into Seinfeld and he asked him if he had any tips for a young comic. And Jerry's response was to write every day. But not just that. He told him to get a big whiteboard calendar that has the whole year on one page and you hang it on the wall. And then after he completed his writing task for the day, he should take a big ass red marker and put an X over that day. And after a few days of writing, you'll have a chain, he says. And now your only job is to not break the chain. And I was like, wow, this is incredibly similar to what I talked about last week with James Clear's goals versus systems methodology. Don't focus on basically being a great comedian. Focus on the system. Focus on writing every day so that you don't break the chain. Now, there's one caveat to the Seinfeld strategy, though, and it's that you need to pick a task that is meaningful enough to make a difference, but simple enough that you can get it done every day. For example, he didn't tell the young up-and-coming comedian to research jokes every day. He told him to write because it actually delivers a meaningful result. And this is more of a productivity hack based around beating procrastination, though. Something else that I found was Bill Gates once said that we tend to overestimate what we can get done in a day and then underestimate what we can accomplish in a year. And through tools like the don't break the chain technique and eat the frog method, we can make consistent progress toward our biggest goals and even do so in a busy day-to-day schedule, which is, I thought, pretty cool. So yeah, I was excited to share these. Try out some of these techniques if you want next week. See if you're a little bit more productive than usual. They might help. For me this weekend, I'm heading to our new home to see if we can find some apartments, which is exciting. So hopefully all goes according to plan and we find somewhere to live because there are a lot of changes coming up. And if I'm not proactive and productive right now about all the things remaining on my list, it's gonna get pretty scary here soon. So for now, just take it day by day, eat that frog first thing in the morning, and then that's all we can do. So anyways, see ya.